Hi, this is Austin with Brush for Hire with another MiniWarGaming painting tutorial featuring the Grey Knight Dreadknight from Games Workshop. Alright, so first we're going to start out with just some mithril silver, and we're trying to highlight just the edges of the pauldron here, and we're also going to come down the sides a little bit just to give it some right to left gradient as well as the top to bottom. Next we're going to do some of the same for the side pieces that contour onto the arm of the bracer and the top of the knee pad. We're also going to hit the top of the hand here just to come back from the other side since we shaded the underside. Now on the arms, we're trying to do sort of the opposite of what we were doing with the shading. We're going to get some of the middles of the panels and some of the upper edges on some of the upper arm here. For the hip assembly, we're going to cut back in on the top edge of the main plane there. And the tops of these tanks that hang off the back, as well as the middle sections of the panels and the circular indentions here. On the greaves, same thing as the other panels, just further accentuating the gradient. Just giving it a highlight spot in the middle of that panel. And we're going to highlight some of the details on the upper region of the chest back assembly, cutting in some of these panels on the back. Try and get the middle, most upward facing parts of these sort of mini pauldrons here, or the upward parts of the arm sockets. So now we're going to start going over these raised letters in the same fashion that we did on the raised letters on the Nemesis Greatsword. We're using the tarnished brass and just thinning it down so that it flows into all of these cracks really nicely. Do the same on the knee pad. This model actually has quite a bit of this raised lettering, which is a really nice feature because it allows you to use washes to great effect to give you some really nice effects without a whole lot of work. And because it's got so many curved panels, it would be very difficult to actually apply any decals without having too much rippling or wrinkling. So here we're going to go back over these with the Ogren Flesh, and that's really going to sort of set off these areas nicely. It'll give you a lot of dark reddish brown tones in all the recessed areas between the letters, while letting the gold lettering show through, but the wash will still tint that gold, and red is really going to make this gold look very vibrant and very rich. So now we're going to start using some Bad Ab Black, and we're going to go over the hoses on the arms. This is going to give us a slightly darker metallic area for these portions to contrast with the rest of the predominantly silver structure. We're also going to go for the ribbed joint areas here, and we're going to really generously apply some Bad Ab Black. You may even want to do multiple coats here. Get these ribbed areas up here at the top too for the shoulder joint. As you can see, we got a little more on the ball joint than we wanted, but with washes you can pretty well just rub it off as long as the undercoat is good and dry. In several different places on this model we've got these vent sections, and it's nice to have them contrast with the rest of the surface, so a little bit of Bad Ab Black will do the trick. Now on the hand, we're not going to do a full saturation wash because that would really get rid of a lot of the hard work that we've done so far with shading from two different sides with the airbrush. So we're taking Bad Ab Black and we're just going to go right into the seams here, and we're going to leave the majority of the surface alone. This is going to help really give us depth and separation between the plates on the fist. So up next we got the bracer, and we've got some of these same vents that we saw on the arm. We've also got some tiny notches or mini vents on the edge there. So for the leg superstructure here, we're just gonna really do a heavy saturation wash. You're not gonna wanna do this with any precision brush that you have. Really get almost a mop of a brush. And we're really going to start putting down a heavy, heavy coat on here. We want the entire superstructure of the leg to be almost a whole different feel. We want it to look like a different material underneath, or at least to be so covered in soot from heavy use that it's a different shade of steel. just like before. If you get some on a panel that you don't want it on, just wipe it off with your finger or a piece of towel. So we're going to be doing that same heavy saturation on these exoskeleton arms. We want these heavily mechanical looking plates or constructions to be sort of a dingy, soot covered steel look. Now you'll notice that some of these enclosed loops are getting clogged with the wash. And in just a second here, I'll show you how to open those back up without ruining the surrounding areas. You can try and take a dry brush and soak some of that out of the middle. But as you see, if that doesn't work completely to open up that area, you can always take the corner of a towel and just try and blot the area out. Chances are you'll still have some sort of membrane there, but you can just blow on it and it should pop kind of like a bubble. So we're just going to darken up these strap areas on the harness to separate them from the rest of the steel plates that make up the more shiny armor. Go in between those two just to add a little bit of separation. We're going to do some faux gem work on these pieces here. So we want to have a really dark area around these so that it'll contrast nicely with the bright red. Really what we're doing here is we're just picking out some areas so that there'll be some contrast between adjoining regions so that it's not all just one shade of silver. Shade these interior corners of this underhanging box here just to accentuate this shadowy corner. So we're also going to be doing some washing on these extruded boxes around the edge. First we'll lay down a fairly heavy wash, and then we're going to go back in and try and pull out some of the excess wash so that it's not so extreme. Really all we're trying to do is highlight the structure and the separation of layers here. Last on this, we're going to wash all the details here on this little cog. Most of it's going to be covered once the chest assembly is put down, but it's a nice detail. Next time, we're going to finish up this round of washing on the chest back assembly, and then we're going to jump into the arm mounted weapons. This has been part 4 of a painting tutorial on the Grey Knight Dreadknight. Thank you for watching. Please tune in for the next installment, and as always, happy wargaming.